What you need to know about coronavirus on Monday, April 20th. A version of this story appeared in the April 20 edition of CNN's Coronavirus Fact vs. Fiction newsletter. Sign up here to receive the need-to-know headlines every weekday. Freedom over fear. That's just one of the messages from groups of protesters who ignored social distancing guidelines to voice their opposition to stay-at-home orders in several U.S. states this weekend. President Donald Trump is coming under scrutiny for encouraging the demonstrations and seemingly fomenting rebellion, flouting his government's own social distancing policy. "They have got cabin fever, they want to get back," Trump said during yesterday's White House press briefing. Meanwhile, Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro took Trump's tactic a step further, joining a rally to end quarantine measures and cheering on protesters who called on the military to shut down Congress and the Supreme Court. As calls grow for a return to normal life, health officials warn that additional waves of the virus are virtually inevitable and that letting up on social distancing too early will only make matters worse. Still, many hope antibody tests could provide the key to reopening. New York will begin the most aggressive antibody testing survey in the U.S. over the next week, according to Governor Andrew Cuomo, who warned it was only halftime in the battle against the beast. Cuomo and other governors from both sides of the aisle have disputed Trump's claims that there's enough coronavirus testing. Elsewhere, Chile is set to become the first country to issue immunity cards to those who recover from the virus, allowing them to go back to work. But the World Health Organization says there's no evidence that antibody tests can determine immunity. You asked. We answered Q. Can you get reinfected? A. In South Korea, health officials are trying to solve the mystery. Why 163 people who recovered from coronavirus have retested positive. The same has been recorded in China, where some patients tested positive after seeming to recover, although there are no official figures. For now, the most likely explanation seems to be that the test is picking up remnants of the virus. More than 50,000 people have asked us questions about the outbreak. Send yours here. Are you a healthcare worker fighting COVID-19? Message us on WhatsApp about the challenges you're facing. +1 34732204415. What's important today amid unemployment fears? Parts of EU get back to work. Nearly 60 million jobs across the European Union and the United Kingdom are at risk from the coronavirus pandemic, according to McKinsey. The consulting firm warns in a report published today that the EU unemployment rate could soar from around 6% to more than 11% and remain elevated for years if the disease is not quickly contained, Charles Riley writes. The estimates come as parts of Europe begin to ease restrictions. Germany started to lift its lockdown today, allowing some businesses and shops to reopen. Denmark, which reopened schools last week, will allow hairdressers, dentists, driving schools and a few other small businesses to resume work. France, on the other hand, won't return to normal for a long time, its prime minister says. UK government under fire. Hospital leaders have criticized the government for making announcements about personal protective equipment, PPE, supplies that cannot be delivered amid critically low stocks in some health trusts, and a shipment of PPE from Turkey, due yesterday, still hasn't arrived. That follows a public backlash after officials admitted yesterday that Prime Minister Boris Johnson missed 5 emergency meetings in the early stages of the pandemic. Sex workers struggle after some controversy. Sex workers in Japan are now eligible to apply for financial aid from the government under certain conditions, a move some activists have hailed as a sign of progress for an industry that has long suffered social stigma. But sex workers say it's not enough to live. I worry about my health, of course, but now I worry more about how to survive. Beaches begin to reopen. Some beaches are beginning to reopen in Australia, but things aren't back to normal just yet. Starting today, Aussies have been allowed back on beaches in Sydney and the Gold Coast, but they'll still need to maintain social distancing, be restricted to exercising, and won't be allowed to sunbathe. The reopening of beaches in Jacksonville, Florida was met with less caution. Crowds cheered as police took the barriers down, and people were seen swimming, biking, surfing and fishing. On our radar. Today, Hong Kong reported no new confirmed cases for the first time since the beginning of March. Some Thai beaches have seen their largest number of turtle nests in 20 years. Conservationists hope lockdown measures will give marine life time to regenerate. David Attenborough is adding geography teacher to his resume, stepping up to offer his unrivaled knowledge to British schoolchildren during the lockdown. World number 1 Novak Djokovic said he was opposed to vaccination and would be against a compulsory jab if it was needed by players for tennis to resume. Lady Gaga, Stevie Wonder, the Rolling Stones and other stars helped to raise nearly $128 million for The Who in an 8-hour show broadcast globally called One World Together at Home. The Office actor John Krasinski hosted a virtual prom on his YouTube channel for the class of 2020. Beyonce's daughter, Blue Ivy Carter, is reminding you to wash your hands in the cutest way. Top tip: stay-at-home orders can feel suffocating for those in apartments. A US-born designer living in Japan has these quick fixes for people confined to small spaces, and America's reigning interior design queen lends her expertise on creating sanctuaries at home. The subversive buzz cut is back by popular demand. Here's how to get the look from home. Should CBD become a part of your wellness routine in these troubling times? Elena Frankel, author of Women and Weed, offers a primer to those interested in incorporating cannabis into their lives. Today's podcast: this is a long war, but if we take it one step at a time and loosen the faucet gradually, we can get back to this new normal. Dr. Tom Frieden, former CDC director: what will it take, realistically, to reopen the country? Will we be able to return to normal in the near future? CNN chief medical correspondent Drive. Sanjay Gupta speaks with Frieden about boxing and COVID-19. Listen now. Click subscribe to receive the latest news.